I guess the biggest thing that I miss the most is believing that there is a God out there who actually cares about me intimately and wants what's best for me and that has a plan for my life.
Life and suffering are so deeply intertwined. Is there divine purpose? Is there a point in asking why? A happenstance of chemicals.
That's kind of weird. I miss the smells. I know it sounds bizarre, but again, I was raised Catholic, and so, like, every church kind of has this like antique like smell. There's the like, especially in the Catholic Church, there's the pews. There might be some flowers and stuff, but really I just went to I had to go to a Catholic funeral. Yeah, they had gotten out the incense and stuff like that, and I that's the kind of stuff like I miss, and part of it is because of like memories. There's something about the smells that are like kind of comforting. I know some people might say like the camaraderie, but I feel like that's something that hasn't changed for me since I left the church. Like I did have like friends, who I went to church with and stuff like that, and people that I knew. But since leaving the church and deconverting, like I still have friends. I always like joke about this, but like anytime that this conversation comes up with people and I, tell them like, oh, I would kind of identify as like an atheist or like agnostic. I always feel like I have to back it up with like, but I have like I have a bunch of friends who are like ordained pastors and like who, went to seminary. And it's like the theological equivalent of like, being like, well, I'm not racist because I have a black friend, I have a Chinese friend. Like that's what I feel like it kind of comes down to, because like there is this kind of stigma with being or identifying as like a non-believer. Because I think automatically people, they're like the idea is like, well, how can you just not believe in anything? Like, well, like, are you like evil, or do you do you do this or do you do that? It's like, no, 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 like not at all. And so it's hard. It was really hard for me to come out and say that to people.
Having to acknowledge your own humanity. You have found God, that you are following Him, and then sometimes when you fall, it's difficult to admit that you've done something wrong rather than trying to justify it. I'm certain that people trying to justify their actions is a large reason why people get turned off from Christianity in the first place. And that's also another difficult part is, one of the pastors at my church calls the holy discontent, knowing that some souls aren't quite saved when people openly deny any relationship with Christ or deny any ambition to follow Christ. It's difficult because at the same time you do think about the afterlife. Probably absolutely the worst is like knowing you can't do everything for that, but you still need to try.
Are you living good? Is your mind right? Hey.
Community. That's why I go into church right now. Wednesday nights, basically. I like going there because it's communal. I get to meet with people that share my desire to help others. And that's what I enjoy. So when they recently had a drive to send some children, send some people down south or South America someplace. And I'm not going anywhere. So I donated a full ticket and expenses for a single person to take my place. Circled. And that worked pretty good for me. But I like they're good people. There's not any hostility there. When I first joined them, there was a little bit of uneasiness. But now it's just, they've learned that I'm not a bad guy after all.
The worst part about being a Christian, I wouldn't say that there is a worst part about being a Christian. The New Testament talks a lot about Paul and how he's in prison for his faith, being threatened even by death because of his faith. And he had multiple chances where he could recant his faith and he would be released and be a normal person in society, but he chose to cling on to his faith. And He talks about how through our suffering we are sharing in the suffering of Christ, which is making us more like him, which is really unique. So some might say persecution is the worst part, but I would definitely say that persecution is not the worst part because it allows us to experience the suffering that Christ experienced on our behalf. So I think it's humbling.
I guess the biggest thing that I miss the most is believing that there is a God out there who actually cares about me intimately and wants what's best for me and that has a plan for my life, and that also, just cares about humanity in general and wants the best for everybody. Believing in an afterlife and believing that I will be able to see my loved ones again once I die, or after I die, I should say. I guess I also miss a lot of the close relationships that I had with people, and believing, that I had experiences with God either through worship or, during prayer time or while reading the Bible that were very meaningful to me. And it's just interesting to reframe those from my current perspective, and I guess from my current point of view, attributing those more to personal psychology than actual divine intervention or interaction.
For me, the worst part is being afraid that if people know entirely what I believe, they won't like me. They'll just sort of attach me to a whole stereotype or idea of what they think a Christian is, or Christians that they've known, and that they won't say, you're a specific individual, let's get to know you, but that if they know right away you're a Christian, they're uncomfortable. And it sort of gets in the way of just connecting with people. That is something that I wrestle with. And I wonder, well, if I don't tell people I'm a Christian right away, is that like denying Christ and saying, oh, I just don't talk about God now? Does that mean I'm a bad Christian? Do I have to constantly say, hey, have you met Jesus? And bring that up in really blunt ways? And I don't think that that's how you need to approach it. I'll always need to be kind of checking back with God and making sure I'm doing that in the right spirit and not saying, well, this is the way I think that non-believers will want to connect with a Christian, because that also doesn't work. And then it just turns into me being really careful of, oh, I can't use like Christian-y language. How do I say this my own way? I don't have to make sure that it's completely clear for people that I talk to, because I have the Holy Spirit at work in me and giving me words to say. And he's the one who works on people that I'm talking to. And it's not really my job to change people's minds about what God says or even that he's real, but it's my job to live in a way that makes it clear that God is real in my life. It becomes less about me trying to prove something or argue something. And there's a freedom in that, letting go of trying to change everyone's minds and just trusting that God will work through me in the right time, and making myself available for what he has for me. And that's a lot less stressful than trying to monitor how I'm telling people about God.